The dream started that night. Margaret stood in a place she didn't recognize, a stone courtyard surrounded by cypress trees, warm Mediterranean sun on her shoulders. She wore a dress she'd never owned, white linen that moved like water. And across the courtyard, sketching in a weathered journal, was a man who might have been Daniel, or might have been someone she'd known 1,000 years ago. In the dream, she wasn't afraid. She walked to him. He looked up. And without words, they understood each other completely. She woke at 3, her pillow damp with tears she didn't remember crying. Tuesday came too slowly and too fast. Margaret told herself she wouldn't go to the cafe. This was foolish. She was a 73-year-old woman, getting tangled up in something that couldn't possibly be what it felt like. Daniel was young enough to be her son. He was lonely in a new town, that's all. She was reading meaning into simple kindness. But at 8:45, she was walking through Rosewood's door. Daniel was already there, 2 coffees on the table, waiting. "I wasn't sure you'd come," he said, and she heard relief in his voice. "I almost didn't. I'm glad you changed your mind." They fell into conversation like it was something they'd been doing for years. He told her about his failed marriage, 3 years that had ended quietly, without drama. Just 2 people realizing they'd mistaken companionship for connection. She told him about Robert, how their marriage had been built on duty and routine, how she'd loved him, but never felt truly known by him. "Do you think it's possible to love someone and still be lonely?" Margaret asked. "I think it's the most common tragedy there is," Daniel said. Somewhere during the conversation, he mentioned Paris. He'd lived there for 6 months after his divorce, painting bridges and sleeping in a 6th-floor walk-up with windows that overlooked Montmartre. Margaret's coffee cup stopped halfway to her lips. "What's wrong?" Daniel asked. She set down the cup carefully. "This is going to sound strange. Try me. I've never left the United States. I've barely left this state. But since I was a girl, I've had this recurring dream about a courtyard. Stone tiles, cypress trees, somewhere warm. And I always know somehow that it's near the Mediterranean. I can smell orange blossoms." Daniel was very still. "Is there someone in the dream?" Margaret felt her face flush. "Sometimes. A man. I can never see his face clearly, but I know him. I always know him." The silence that followed felt alive. "Electric. Margaret," Daniel said slowly, and it was the first time he'd used her name. It sounded like music. "I dream about that courtyard too." The cafe seemed to tilt. Outside, a truck rumbled past. Peggy dropped something in the kitchen. Normal sounds in a moment that felt anything but normal. "That's not possible," Margaret whispered. "I know. We're strangers." "Are we?" Daniel reached across the table, stopping just short of touching her hand. "Does this feel like strangers?" It didn't. It felt like recognition, like coming home to a place she'd never been. Margaret pulled her hand back, frightened by her own desire to close that small distance. "I should go." "Please don't." But she was already standing, gathering her purse with shaking hands. "I can't." "Margaret." Daniel stood too. "I'm not imagining this. You feel it too." She did. God help her, she did. It felt like standing at the edge of something vast, and forbidden, and absolutely necessary. "I'm 73 years old," she said, and her voice cracked. "You're young enough to be my son." This is what?" Daniel asked gently. "Unexpected? Yes. Complicated? Absolutely. But wrong? I don't think it's wrong. To finally feel seen by another human being." Margaret's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know what this is." "Neither do I," Daniel admitted. "But I'd like to find out." "Wouldn't you?" She would. That was the terrifying truth. She wanted to explore this connection, more than she'd wanted anything in decades. "I need time," she said. "To think. Take all the time you need. I'll be here Tuesday." Margaret left the cafe and walked home in a daze. The October morning was crystalline, perfect, and she barely saw it. Her mind was full of impossible things, shared dreams, recognition without explanation. The feeling that Daniel Cross wasn't a stranger at all, but someone she'd been searching for her entire life. At home, she pulled out the leather journal and wrote, "What if some connections are older than memory? What if we can know someone before we meet them?" I sound like a foolish old woman. But foolish or not, I can't deny what I feel. It's like waking up from a long sleep and discovering I'm still capable of living. That night, she dreamed again. The courtyard, the cypress trees, the warm sun. But this time, when the man looked up from his sketching, she saw his face clearly. It was Daniel, and she wasn't afraid anymore.